So this is why water is useful, part 2. Water is a field that is also kind of an object or something that you can touch or see or perceive. Most of the time when you're engaging with fields, like a magnetic field, you can't see it. It's in the space. It's kind of invisible. And so you could be talking about all sorts of different things that are happening in that field, but ultimately it's like very abstract and inferred. When you're in water, you're in a field the exact same way that you are all the time, but you can see how it is that you can engage with a field. And you can see that for things like light, objects, anytime that a field is capable of supporting a vibration or a perturbation, you know that that field is actually in contact with another field. So there's two fields in contact with each other of different densities, and that's where the area that waves can propagate. Like waves only propagate on the surface of the ocean. When it's not on the surface, you can get currents. I guess shock waves can go through the water, right? But in terms of that like up and down thing that we associate with light, you know that there's like the electromagnetic field is bordering another field. And so when you're in water, that whole dynamic becomes perceptible, the water that's happening all the time. But when you're in water, the field that you're in takes on the clothing of the water. And so you can see it kind of like how you could see an invisible person dressed up in clothes. And so you can see like what sort of things are possible on the surface of the water, what sort of things are possible underwater, how can the fields interact with each other, right? And all that becomes pretty easy. You can see how like you can see how your vibe or your vibration or your habitual cyclical movement, how it creates waves, how it influences the space around you, how it kind of like emits light, basically how it emits waves. And you can see how the surface of a field is reality. So all of reality is the surface of this electromagnetic field butted up against, some other more rarefied field, which creates a boundary condition, which creates a surface. And then that surface, that's where all the electromagnetic vibrations and stuff come from. That's where they exist. All the electrons, all the mountains, all the roads, all the anything you could possibly think of is, or if somebody's saying like, oh, there's a vortice, like a vortice is happening, the atoms and stuff are vortices. The only place that a vortice happens is at this boundary condition between two fields. And so people are mesmerized with the surface because it contains all objects, right? But below the surface is what we experience as awareness. Like the eye is looking at the surface. The awareness is looking at its boundary, right? The awareness, the water, clothed in water in this case, is looking at its surface, and that surface is the boundary between the water and something outside the water. So the water, the awareness of the water is looking at what outside of it is doing by how it influences the waves, right? When you look at the waves on the surface of the ocean, you're looking at the ocean, you're not looking at something else, but those waves are caused by, movements on the other side of the ocean. And so you can't look beyond your awareness, but your awareness does butt up against things that are beyond it. And at that boundary condition, you get waves, and you can look at those waves and you can infer perceptual patterns. And like as complex as those waves can be, and you could memorize things about the waves, the patterns of the waves, the movements of the tides, etc. You can memorize and study all of that. Very complex. And then also there's this very simple noticing of the nature of the looker, the nature of the water itself, the nature and the simplicity of the substance under the waves that is itself waving. And then there's the essentially the air, what's outside of awareness. So you can directly see these two fields, right? And if you directly see your awareness, which is possible, you don't have to get a microscope, you don't have to make a crazy observation. You can look and notice the awareness, and then notice the outside of the awareness, and you can go, there's very simple noticings that can happen, and then directly, like a deeper truth than could ever present itself on the wave, like scientifically. You can know the simple pattern of the water encompasses any imaginable complexity that could happen on the surface. And so water is good for making all of that stuff that's normally like very kind of abstract and hard to grasp and all that. It kind of gives it body and lets you directly perceive it.